way I see it. Now, last night on this program, we chronicled the way 3 Democrat-appointed judges struck down North Carolina's voter ID law. That just adds to the suspicion that there are efforts afoot to rig our electoral process. Miranda Kahn has more.
JD, Donald Trump's coined a lot of nicknames and phrases during this unprecedented election, but one in particular continues to ring and resonate in the ears of millions of Americans.
First of all, it's rigged.
It's a rigged system.
The Republican primary system is totally rigged.
Call it the common theme of the Donald Trump campaign. And now it's just gone up a notch.
I'm afraid the election's going to be rigged, I have to be honest.
And while some Democrats have criticized such an idea, calling it even dangerous, Bernie Sanders, who's formerly endorsed Hillary Clinton, has sided with Trump on this issue.
There is no question but the DNC was on Secretary Clinton's side from day one. We all know that.
She knew it's a rigged system, that Bernie Sanders never had a chance.
And more Americans seem to agree.
So show me what democracy looks like!
According to this Reuters poll, back in April, about half of Americans feel the presidential nominating system is rigged, and more than 2/3 want to see the process changed.
This was completely rigged right from the beginning. They were doing everything to set it up so she would win.
That was before the DNC email leak that revealed favoritism towards Hillary Clinton, causing DNC chair Debbie Wasserman Schultz and 3 other top staffers to fall like a stack of dominoes.
It's hard to vote for somebody that doesn't have integrity.
And it's not just the political machine that Trump and voters are accusing of favoritism towards the left, but the mainstream media.
I didn't see anything on TV calling out Clinton on TPP and her support for Obama's economy.
So much bias against Donald Trump that it's very disappointing to watch.
That at least 80% of the elite media is in the tank for Hillary.
And a new development tonight. Donald Trump now says he will not back House Speaker Paul Ryan or Senator John McCain during his primary in Arizona. Both men have criticized Trump in the past, most recently for his remarks towards the Khan family, whose son, as you mentioned earlier, JD, died while saving his fellow soldiers in Iraq. JD, back to you.
Thanks, Miranda. A whole lot to talk about, and this quick reminder is in order. We will be taking your calls tonight over the next hour at 1-877-Newsmax. That's 1-877-639-7629. To talk more about all of this, I'm very pleased to be joined by the former Lieutenant Governor of New York, Betsy McCaughey. Betsy Skyping in tonight from Connecticut, and joining us from Newsmax, Washington, my old congressional colleague, Michael Patrick Flanagan, the gentleman from Illinois who today serves as president of Flanagan Consulting. Our thanks to you both for your time here on Newsmax Prime, and it's worth a second look. Newt talking about the mainstream media and its double standard. Let's watch and listen.
Anybody watching this campaign knows that at least 80% of the elite media is in the tank for Hillary. Now, she's lying about 50-some thousand emails. She's lying about national security. That somehow, I mean, why shouldn't she apologize? If Donald Trump owes anybody an apology, how come Hillary doesn't owe the whole country an apology?
What about that, Betsy?
Well, she certainly does owe the whole country an apology. FBI Director James Comey made that very clear when he summed up their investigation. It's a shame that the FBI let her off the hook and instructed the Justice Department to do it, but James Comey made it absolutely clear that she had behaved in a way that put the entire nation in danger.
Michael Patrick Flanagan, you are a Republican who got elected to Congress from the heart of Chicago. So goodness knows you've faced some challenges. What should Mr. Trump be doing to counter the ever-present double standard of the dominant media?
I'll tell you, JD, when I was, after I had run, I was thinking about writing a book, and I asked a press person from the Hill to look through my media. And I had 4 boxes of it. And she took it away for 2 months, and she brought it back, and she said, I have no idea how you ever got elected with anything this negative. And it was just, and I didn't understand it was that negative. I thought that's just how it was, but it's not. Republicans get abused something awful in the press. And his only challenge to him is to be able to rise above it, to ignore it and move on, and let his surrogates like Newt and like Betsy, like me, stand up there and say it's unfair, it's not right, and we lead that drum. We lead that drum. He should not be doing that himself. He has a campaign to run. He has speeches to give. He should be focused on winning. Let us fight with the minions for him.
Well, it is interesting. Miranda mentioned this. Mr. Trump not endorsing Speaker Ryan nor Senator McCain. Here's the statement during a print interview. Quote, I like Paul, but these are horrible times for our country. We need very strong leadership. We need very, very strong leadership. And I am just not quite there yet. I'm not quite there yet.
I love it.
Isn't a great turn of words and a turn of a phrase? Let's go to what he had to say about my old friend and erstwhile opponent. Quote, I haven't endorsed John McCain. I've never been there with John McCain because I've always felt that he should have done a much better job for the vets. He's not done a good job for the vets, and I've always felt that he should have done a much better job for the vets. So I've always had a difficult time with John for that reason, because our vets are not being treated properly. They're not being treated fairly. Betsy, your take on Donald striking back at a pair of party leaders.
I am so glad he's done this, because Paul Ryan and John McCain worship at the altar of political correctness. And every time that Donald Trump says something that ruffles the public's feathers, these two politicians side with the politically correct rather than with Donald Trump. So he finally had an opportunity to hand it back to them.
Let's go to the phones right now. From Oak Hill, West Virginia, Edith is on the line. Edith, welcome to Newsmax Prime.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that several times y'all mentioned about him receiving the Purple Heart and that him saying it was easy. I took it as he meant it was easy because this is something he is doing from his heart and just out there doing what he always does, you know, showing up, doing what he does. And I think you all have taken it, and even though you're sort of for him, you're kind of making it look as if he did not give the respect that it deserved.
Well, this came up during the Steve Malzberg show preceding this one, and I think that there are a lot of folks, and maybe Michael Patrick Flanagan will weigh in on this. Mike, I don't know if you saw this earlier today, but Donald Trump was handed his Purple Heart by a veteran, a lieutenant colonel, and he had the lieutenant colonel out, shook his hand, posed a big applause. But the line was, a tear did not come to Donald's eye, and he did not go on and on about sacrifice. There were some who thought it was flippant. Steve thought he should have said something else. Any rules that people running for office should remember in these situations, or as Edith says, this is criticism that's really undeserved?
I think it's criticism that's undeserved. I think what he was, first of all, it was a replica of a Purple Heart, if I'm not mistaken. And secondly, what he was saying was, it's easier to get it this way than to get it the way you got yours, the fellow who's giving it to him. And I think that's what he was trying to say. At least that's how it read in the report I read it. Yes. So I don't really understand the criticism at all. But this is just piling on. They're just piling on. And I love the way that they run with a microphone to every Republican office holder and say, won't you denounce Trump now? Won't you denounce Trump now? Please denounce Trump now. And that Republican office holder needs to hold himself firm, look back in the microphone and say, yeah, right after Harry Reid denounces Hillary, call me after you got that done.
Good
and
point.
Then we'll talk about Hillary.
Hey, Betsy, I got to go to this.
That.
Betsy, the Media Research Center came out with some devastating numbers today. Touched on it earlier. According to their study, the alphabet networks gave Khizr Khan 50 times more coverage than Pat Smith, who also lost a child to enemy gunfire. Has the media swung so far to the left that it disregards anything that goes against their narrative? We've got about a minute.
It is so shocking. This Khan thing was a setup from the beginning with George Stephanopoulos, who was the one who initially asked the questions about it to Donald Trump. And it's just a setup. And the fact is, the parents who lost their sons in Benghazi have spoken out very clearly, and they've been ignored by the mainstream media. It is shocking.
And on that note, we very quickly, Michael, 30 seconds to you on this whole thing.
I think that Trump was punching out of his weight class. I think he came off a little bit of as a bully in this. I don't think he was wrong for defending himself. I think he should have sent up surrogates to do it. He should have sent Mrs. Smith forward. He should have sent his Gold Star mothers out there to talk about it, which are only trickling into the media now. Had he done that, it would have been a big win for him. Again, he doesn't have to handle all this stuff personally and himself.
All right, fair enough. Betsy and Michael, we'll ask you to stay right there. And before we head to the break, we want to take a minute and welcome our viewers watching us tonight on JLTV, Jewish Life TV. Welcome to you. We're so glad to have you with us, and we hope you are enjoying Newsmax Prime, and we'll make it a habit to be here each weeknight at 8 o'clock Eastern, or again at 8 o'clock Pacific, if that works for you. Up next, more of your calls. There's a caller from Phoenix on the line I want to get to, and you too, so stay with us.
After a long investigation, FBI Director James Comey said none of those things that you told the American public were true.
Chris, that's not what I heard Director Comey say, and I thank you for giving me the opportunity to, in my view, clarify. Director Comey said that my answers were truthful and what I've said is consistent with what I have told the American people. That there were decisions discussed and made to classify retroactively certain of the emails.
Hillary Clinton, during her Fox News Sunday interview, insisting no classified data was on her emails. Now, there are reports out today that the DNC email hack actually originated somewhere within our government, not Russia. That's according to a former intelligence official. This former intelligence official claims it was done as an act of revenge against Hillary Clinton. So, will the media narrative now switch to some sort of GOP plot within government against the Democrat nominee? Let's continue our conversation now with our esteemed panel. Once again, Skyping in from Connecticut, former Lieutenant Governor of New York, Betsy McCaughey, and from Newsmax, Washington, former Congressman Michael Patrick Flanagan. Thanks to you both for hanging around for part two of our discussion. And I just have to ask you, would you put anything past this media, Betsy, with this new report about the emails being sent out by a former official in intelligence taken directly to WikiLeaks?
Well, it's possible, and I can tell you that it's very plausible that many professionals in the FBI have become extremely demoralized by James Comey's white flag approach to Hillary Clinton. The fact that he surrendered in the face of so much evidence of her wrongdoing clearly would be enough to inspire someone within the intelligence agencies to leak information.
Michael Patrick Flanagan, I got to come to you for this next story because I doubt it would ever happen in Cook County, Chicago, the way the Democrats run things there. But in Washington today, at the DNC, the CEO, Amy Dacey, resigned. So did the CFO, Brad Marshall, and spokesperson Luis Miranda. The Democrats clearing house in the wake of this email leak. What's your take on that?
Well, those three people are going to figure prominently in the emails when they're leaked. That's why they're gone now. They don't have to leave then. So we can talk about them as former staffers rather than current staffers. That's my guess.
Oh, you know just how they think. That's priceless, pal. I mean, so in other words, it's inoculation.
Absolutely.
All right. Hey, let's go to the phones right now at 1-877-NEWSMAX, 1-877-639-7629. I told you before the break, wanted to get to a caller from my old stomping grounds in Phoenix. Let's do so. Glenn is on the line. Hi, Glenn. Welcome to Newsmax Prime.
God bless, J.D. That's a Deacon Glenn to you.
Amen, Deacon Glenn. Good to have you, brother.
Congressman J.D. Hayworth and I were both nominated to be deacons at our church, which also included John McCain, John Kyle, Glenn Campbell, and Congressman Trent Franks. It was quite a body of believers.
And the imperfections were apparent in this center, but I appreciate you being on, Glenn. What's your point tonight, brother?
Well, my point is, J.D., I'm an old aircraft mechanic, and I worked for the Air National Guard for many years, and I had the honor of working on a daily or weekly basis with Barry Goldwater, and first name, Barry, this airplane. And the reason everyone is having trouble with Trump is that he is a real man. Mr. Goldwater was a real man, and everybody's trying to extrude and push Donald Trump through this Beltway die pinball machine, and it's not going to work. And I would suggest, I think he's a wonderful man. Just lay back and let him work and surround himself with some of the great minds of this country.
Deacon Glenn, I appreciate your call and I appreciate your point. Thanks very much for it. Let's go to Betsy. You know, Betsy, when Deacon Glenn mentions 1964, I understand what he's saying about Barry being a real guy and about Trump being a real guy. But when you hear 64, you kind of clinch up and go, things didn't go our way that year.
Well, that's right. And I would give Donald Trump some other advice, and that is he's got a winning message because he has the Trump economic turnaround plan. This economy is tanking. And if we want to avoid a very severe recession, we need Donald Trump's tax cuts and deregulation. That's what he's promising, and that's what we need.
Mike, Dick Morris was on the Steve Malzberg show last night when I had the chance to tag team with Brother Steve in hosting the show, and Dick exposed another untruth from Hillary Clinton about her time in New Bedford, Massachusetts, and her dealings with disabled kids trying to get into school. She made it a big point in her acceptance speech. Let's listen to what Dick had to say about all of that.
The mayor of New Bedford, Massachusetts, in 1973, a guy named Joseph Markey, a Democrat, has lashed out at Hillary and said that is a complete fabrication. So Hillary made a big deal about that in her speech. And it turns out it is just another Hillary lie.
So, Mike, what about that?
If you can't tell the truth, why bother to stick around is most people's credo. But Hillary, why tell the truth when a lie will do? She doesn't get called on it. She doesn't get caught in it. Nobody gives her a hard time about it. And she blithely goes on and tells some more lies and says, oh, my God, Trump said something crazy today. If you can get away with it, I guess in her world, it's okay to do it. She's a congenital liar. If her lips are moving, she's lying. It's just the way it is. It's tragic. It's horrible, but it's true.
And some of the press is waking up. Senior political analyst for National Journal, Ron Fournier, who's written a great book entitled Love That Boy, was on Morning Joe with our old colleague Joe Scarborough on MSNBC today. And Ron says his time with the Clintons provided him some insight as to why they embrace so many untruths.
I literally had senior officials on the record, or not on the record, on background a year ago saying, or more than a year ago, saying that trust doesn't matter, that Bill Clinton won even though he was trusted less than the two people he ran against. What they don't realize is the world has changed. And we now see that trust does matter. It's really destroyed her credibility.
So they're the Clinton people, Betsy, just saying to Ron, trust and truth don't matter. What about it?
Well, clearly that lion Hillary doll has a big future on in the toy stores.
And, you know, it's interesting. Stick around. We're going to have more of that lion Hillary doll. But right now, let's go to a lady who only tells the truth, calling in at 1-877-NEWSMAX. That's 1-877-639-7629. It is Karen with a C calling in from Bushkill, Pennsylvania. Hiya, Karen.
Hi, JD. It's actually Sharon.
Sharon, I apologize.
That's
We'll
quite
make
all right.
the appropriate adjustment. Thank you for the friendly amendment. What's on your
quite all
mind,
right.
Sharon?
Well, first of all, I just found your channel and I love it.
Great.
The reason why I'm voting for Mr. Trump is because I want my grandchildren to have the America that I had growing up.
Boy, you know, Sharon, you put it that way. And Betsy, I got to tell you, you know, here's what's especially tough for those of us who spent time in government and now we're outside it. I mean, we're supposed to be the adults. And to see what has happened to the country, arguably on our watch, and to see a lost generation economically, as Sharon says, is there anything we're going to be able to do to make it better for the next generation?
That's a major reason I'm supporting Donald Trump, because he does have an economic plan that will restore the kind of growth, 3.5% a year after year, that we enjoyed during most of the 20th century. That's what we need, Sharon, to ensure that our children and grandchildren have the kind of opportunities we have.
Let me go to you, Michael, because, you know, mindful of what Sharon had to say and what Betsy has just said, a lot of people, when they look at Trump, they say, wait a minute, a guy who's made a lot of money is a guy who knows the economy. So does he need to stick to bread and butter issues? And oh yeah, national security and no amnesty, and that's the winning combination. We got about 30 seconds for you, pal.
Right, you are exactly correct, JD, and Betsy, as always, is correct. If he would stick to the main lines of his campaign, talking about national security, talking about building the wall, talking about the economic past, peppered with a little crooked Hillary stuff, he'd be great. He needs to stop swatting every fly that flies in front of his face and let us, the surrogates, do that. Let his own paid surrogates do it and get focused on his campaign. It's a winner message. It's a message we all love. Take it, run with it, Donald. Make us proud.
14 weeks from tonight will be election night. Let's hope he heeds the advice and goes to those issues. Betsy McCaughey tonight from Connecticut, and Michael Patrick Flanagan from Newsmax Washington. Thanks to you both. Quick programming note, as of June 1st, Newsmax TV was discontinued on Dish and is now unavailable to its subscribers. We're disappointed by the decision of Dish to stop carrying Newsmax TV during this critical election period. It's important to note that Newsmax TV did not charge Dish to carry the network. In fact, we financially benefited them. Call them and let you know they regret the decision at 1-800-700-4376.